Welcome to the Infinite Life podcast with Katische, and today we have a very special guest with us, Courtney Dillon. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
Now, I came across Courtney whilst being in one of those moments on YouTube where you just type in a word and you just spend the next few hours there. And so I think I was typing in reincarnation, past lives, and I discovered the Channeling Erik channel. And you were one of the people that were helping on the show in terms of channeling people from the other side. So that's where I came across you, just to give contrast to the podcast listeners. And then since then, I've been listening to the podcast that you're part of, the Ascended Masters podcast, and watching a YouTube channel. So I just wanted to give that background, and then I wanted to hand over to you so that you could tell everybody who you are in your own words, because I know that'll be better than my words.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll try. Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Dillon. I am a medium, intuitive, and a teacher. So I teach monthly workshops, although I'm taking December off, but you can find me on CourtneyDillon.com.
Beautiful. And can you tell us, how is it that you got involved with the Channeling Erik channel? Like, how did you, I know you don't suddenly meet Erik, who is the boy who took his own life and then crossed over, and he's been giving lessons and teachings and access to other beings on the other side and really teaching us about a lot of spiritual concepts. But how did that all come about? Like, how did you suddenly get involved with that channel?
Well, I think it's a really wonderful project, and I really love being a part of it because I think it helps so many people. It was last year, I think someone actually recommended me for the show, somebody that I had worked with and that knew Elisa. So they recommended me, and then I think we did one to sort of try out, she was making sure that I'd be a good fit, and obviously, and then after that, it's just been something that I kind of have been doing, it's just definitely been there and present, and I can see all of, if we think about like the synchronicities that were sort of leading up to it, they're all really clear and in place. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I really enjoy being on there. So.
And with Erik, is he now like a guide for you, or you only access Erik when you are actually working with them?
So when I start talking about him, he pops in. But
okay. Hi, Erik.
He says hi. So I wouldn't necessarily call him my personal guide, but I will say that he seems to pop in my sessions more and more these days. It's not like something I plan or anything like that. And it's specifically people who want to work with him, who are working with him, and things like that. So he definitely comes in, and he always, obviously, if I'm on Channeling Erik, he always brings in the people I'm channeling, so he'll do that and help me with that. And I guess we could call him like a friend, like a friend. I enjoy hanging out and talking to Erik. So
yeah, well, he makes me laugh, and I think everybody,
he's funny.
Very funny character. And when you've done your channeling sessions, is it Erik that suggests to either yourself or Elise who's coming up next? Like, I know there's a lot of feedback from listeners who say, I'd love to hear from this particular person, but does Erik come up with the original idea, or is it you? Is it
sometimes he does? Sometimes he does. Yeah, I'll hear suggestions of people, and then it's like kind of a collaborative effort, right? It's everybody's sort of weighing in, or a lot of times also what you mentioned, like I think there'll be like a bunch of people that are kind of drawn to hear from someone, and then that will be, we'll see if that works. You know, obviously if I channel anyone, I always like to ask their permission. So it's dependent on that, you know, because, you know, you need somebody's permission to do something.
Yeah, that's right.
And, but yeah, it's kind of a combination of both, but Erik has definitely weighed in with his suggestions. So.
Yeah. And can you give, for people who haven't been listening to that channel, some examples of people who you've been able to channel, some of the names of the people, and then let us know two things. What was the most interesting or fascinating person so far that you have channeled, and why? And then what was the hardest or difficult or most challenging for you to channel?
So I don't find channeling difficult or hard. I've been like this since I was a kid. So, you know, it's just been kind of one of those things. But so I wouldn't say anybody's been particularly difficult. And I actually, what I can say is the people I've channeled, I don't even remember after I do it. So it's like I go into a fog, but let me think. We did most recently Bonnie and Clyde. They were super interesting. We've talked to Elvis, Osho, James Gandolfini, he's popping in my head. And so it's a big variety. In my own workshops, you know, separate from channeling Erik, I channel a lot of the Ascended Masters, particularly Saint Germain, who I work with a lot. But so it's just a real variety. I don't necessarily find it difficult, but more, I guess, it's always fascinating and interesting, but what I can describe is it's fascinating and interesting for me after the fact. While I'm doing it, I don't necessarily have a total awareness of, I mean, I'm aware that I'm there, I'm aware I'm present. It's not like I leave my body, but I do get out of the way is what I can describe it as. So, you know, I don't necessarily, I feel pretty neutral with what I'm saying. I'm just trying to channel, you know, just channeling. So I don't really have an opinion about anything anybody's saying, even if it can be controversial or whatever. It's just kind of neutral for me in that moment. And then, you know, going back, I'll be like, oh, that was interesting. You know, it's almost like drops in as bits of information, but I don't necessarily even remember it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because hard to explain.
What I've been learning more and more about channeling, I've been watching different people. So there's obviously the Theo group is one example of people that I watch, and so she very definitely is gone. You know, her whole body is, and she's out. And whereas you appear completely in the room, active. You laugh at Erik, and you're able to see him interact with whoever's on the other side, as well as being present with whoever's on the other side of the camera. So it's
just a different style. And I actually do know how to trance channel, where you go into complete trance and leave. But my preference has always been to stay kind of present and active. I don't know. We all just have different ways of working. I think. But yeah, there is one, I did a trance channeling on YouTube with Saint Germain where I went completely asleep, but this was last year, I think. And it's not something I do very often, but you know, different ways.
Different personalities. Yeah, I would think if it was me, I would prefer to stick around, so to speak, and be part of the activity. But I guess different people and different styles. You said that you've been able to channel since you were young. So did you just assume that everybody else could? Max, the cat just dropped the light.
That's okay.
Did you just assume
a dog upstairs?
Did you just assume that everybody could channel?
So I don't even think I knew what I was doing or understand my gifts. I think looking back, it was really difficult. I had a hard time in school. I was like always kind of absorbing other people's energy, their stuff. I didn't really understand. I mean, you don't learn this kind of stuff in school or as a child, energetic boundaries and, you know, things that I've really needed in place as an adult. I probably didn't really even learn this till I was like 30, honestly, but learn this stuff in place as an adult so I can function in my life. So it wasn't easy. And I don't know if I even understood that I could. I just thought, I guess I thought it was kind of more of a normal thing.
Okay.
But
Yep.
then, and at some point, I do think I shut it down a little bit just to be able to kind of function. And then it
Yeah.
sort of came roaring back, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So,
And with the way that you work, how many clairs do you have going to be able to channel? Do you see mostly here or all of them? Like, is it everything?
I've got all the clairs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, pretty strongly. I'd say so I do see, but for me, I see internally. So I see pictures internally, but it's kind of, yeah, that's the way I can describe it. And I'm clairaudient, so I'll hear words. It's usually always in my right ear. I will feel spirits, and so, I mean, because I also am a medium in my work, and so I'll do mediumship pretty all day, you know. And I feel them, I can feel the presence spatially. So I can sense where they are, even though, you know, they're not in a body necessarily. And then I have feelings. I also feel it in my body. So I guess all of them. I don't know if that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's just interesting. Because I have always been clairaudient. I can and it's it's the same. So the right ear, and then my other clairs are coming to at the moment, sort of like slowly opening up. So I have been able to just recently sense energetic forms. But, you know, whenever I talk to my higher self and I'm like, are you sure I'm not meant to channel or medium? And they're like, no. And I'm like,
no,
okay.
not for you.
No. I'm like, okay, that was fairly definite. Damn, that's a shame. You know, I find it quite interesting. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, why would you show me all of these people that I, you know, watch all the videos and listen to them if that's not for me? Well, so it's not for me. But
well,
anyway.
it's kind of funny because I didn't actually set out completely to do this. It's just sort of, I mean, I started doing it just like a kind of a side for my profession, and it quickly like took over, you know what I mean? So it's sort of another way you could, I mean, it just has been spirit sort of pushing me out in the world, you know, and like how you're saying you got to know, I'm like, okay, I guess here I am, you know what I mean?
Well, I got to know for that, but I get a yes for sound healing and past life regression, and the way that it's come to me is literally blocking any time that I would apply for a job or try to keep going in a career. It's a no, bad boss, out, you know, literally like I could apply. I spent 10 years trying to start different businesses, having them all, they've all progressively led to what I'm at now, you know, aromatherapy and different sensory media things, and communication was what I did at uni. So communication is important, but they've all shut the doors very fast. And so if you said to me tomorrow, you must go and get a job, I wouldn't be able to, like, literally nobody would look at my resume. And I have so many degrees, it's not possible. But, you know, I stopped after 10 years. I was like, you know, because, you know, my mum's like, you need to, and I'm like, you know, Mum, the other day McDonald's rejected me. So you know what? I think can we just like not do that anymore?
Totally.
Can we just not, and I'll just do whatever. But I'm going down this path. So yeah, it's always very interesting to me. So let's talk about, well, with your customers, what's the biggest service that you help people with? Is it the mediumship or them being the medical medium? What do you spend most of?
It's a real combination of both. And, you know, I do have everything delineated on my website, but in truth, in any session, it might be a combination of things, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to ever say what something is going to be. You know, family members show up to do healing work. Like there's all kinds of things that happen. I'd say it's probably about half mediumship, half, you know, readings and medical intuition. But again, that all, because we're looking at energetic patterns. And so what my work, I see my work as is not just to like identify something, but to identify the root of something, so we can go and clear the energy and help the person start to heal. Sorry, my dog is barking.
So it's fine. Yeah, that's I understand that, because when I used to work with aromatherapy and essential oils, I eventually shut that down, because I was like, no, I want to get to the root cause. And I was like, no, I want to get to the spiritual root cause, which is how I got into the past life regression side, because it's like, no, I think it's past life. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, that happens a lot in my sessions. Well, if somebody, that's one of the causes that I find it can be moving really into a past life, and then we can actually go and heal that. So, you know, we're doing similar things, it sounds like, just in different ways. Yeah.
And do you find that at Christmas time and the holiday seasons, you get a lot more requests from people who suddenly feel nostalgic and sad, and they want to be in contact with loved ones that have passed over? Do you find it's really busy for you now? Although you just said you've taken a month off, like in the lead up.
No, not a month, a week.
A week.
Yeah, I'm just taking I wish. No, I'm taking the month off doing my workshop, because I do these monthly workshops. Yeah, no. Maybe sometime I should take a month off, but no.
Well, here in Australia, we have Christmases in summer, so it's like the reverse. So it's like people take a month off or 6 weeks off or whatever.
It sounds great. I know. I think people in the US work too much. That's kind of my conclusion, and I'm probably fall in that category. But what I would say is, well, I have noticed a lot more people reach out. I think the holidays can bring up a lot for people. I think it can be a really beautiful time. It can be a really happy and joyful time, but I think that it can be a really, really difficult time for people, especially if you've lost family members around the holidays or things like that. So I think it's a bit of both. I also think, and I'm not trying to say anything negative here, but you know, when we go and are with our families, it really can bring up our stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot of like pattern work that comes up, and traumas and triggers and just, so yeah, there's quite a bit that comes up.
Yeah, like it's like Christmas Day is the most stressed out day of the year, I always think, because it's this lead up of presents and holidays and family this and family that, and it's like supposed to be, you know, the most beautiful day of the year, or depending upon your religion. So I always wonder, because I was born Christmas Eve, so 9 p.m. Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow. So my daughter was born the 23rd. So yeah.
I've always had this joke. Me and Jesus are like this, even though we're not. But you channel Yeshua, yeah? Yeah, so I always wondered, how does he find the whole stress and the commercialism around the Christmas season? Like, he must just go like, what are these people doing with this holiday?
Well, I think like a lot of things on Earth, there's just been a lot of distortion with the original intent of things, you know, especially with, if you think about like, it's right by that winter solstice, and it's right by this, it's a very holy days of the year, even in like pagan traditions, right? And so I think a lot of that distortion is starting to come and shift on the planet. It's just going to take some time, right? And we're, you know, people on Earth that are doing this kind of work, and there's a lot of people that are just, you know, raising their vibration, their frequency. And I think the distortions will begin to heal. And the ways in which, you know, the holiday season has become this about buying obsessively and all of that, I think that will start to heal over time, at least. I'm seeing that in this ascension cycle. So
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it becomes too much. It's, you know,
I agree.
But the family issues really do come to a forefront. So it's a great time to spiritually examine relationships and to contemplate, you know, karma and soul groups and what people's roles are in your families.
Absolutely. I mean, isn't it, who said this? Ram Dass, didn't he say something like, you know, if you think you're enlightened, go spend 2 weeks with your family or something? I can't remember, I'm misquoting it, but yeah, I think kind of true.
Yeah,
So.
the Buddhist nuns at the Chenrezig Institute that I used to spend a lot of time at were like, we've got it easy. We can sit on a mat and just pray. You guys have got to be real people, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, triggered all the time. No worries. So I have a question which one of my podcast listeners asked if she could
Okay.
ask you. So she said that she did a soul seed meditation. I'm not quite sure what that is because and she found a connection to herself with Saint Germain as her connected ascended master. So she said she'd love to have some clarity on how does a connection with an ascended master relate to a soul purpose of a person in their life, and seeing that she has this connection with Saint Germain, how can she harness the twin flame and violet light energy? That's what she wants to know.
Okay, let me take it one at a time. Let me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's beautiful that she realized that and was given that information. So basically, we are in a really pivotal time on Earth. You know, this is a really, and that's why it feels really, there's a lot of upheaval and a lot of chaos, because it's kind of like shifting and reorganizing into higher order, right? And during this time period, every human on Earth actually does have an ascended master team. So we all have ascended masters who are kind of like, you could think of it, I guess this is how you could say it, as like assigned to us. And it sounds like, and we also do have a primary ascended master who is there to help us, work with us. If we have, for example, if this person makes a decision that he or she is, I don't know.
It's a she.
Yep, she, okay. She wants to, you know, work on her ascension in this lifetime, and basically meaning that she wants to come back to full knowledge of who she really is, right? As a soul, as a spirit. Saint Germain can help her with that, right? Also, I guess that's just the simplest explanation, and probably the easiest one to understand. And I would say just as far as, so she asked about twin flames and violet flame. Is that correct?
No, she
violet flame. Is that what she's wondering?
Sorry, yeah, I might have written down the twin flame a bit wrong. She wants to understand how to harness the violet light energy. I guess how to harness his powers, how to be taught by her. And yes, she is spiritual and looking to follow the journey through, and you know,
got it.
She's so a very light, very she's kind of like a very angelic energy. You know, she's the kind of person that's if you imagined a beautiful fairy, she's like a fairy to me. Like she's just like that fairy energy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, she makes you smile.
So the violet flame, so Saint Germain is a master alchemist, right? And he is here on Earth, and he teaches people alchemy. So he teaches people how to transmute, right? How to bring, you know, I have several classes on my website, right? About, I channeled him for an emotional alchemy class, meaning how to take our emotions and transmute them.
Yes.
So a lot of the techniques are for that. So you can think of the violet flame as a tool for transmutation, and you can use it. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to use the violet flame. You can use the violet flame you can just basically, you begin to imagine it and see it working and see it alchemizing, and it's actually a very, very powerful tool. You can use it in a space where the energy feels off. I mean, you know what I mean? You just walk in and you're like, something's not right here. You can use it in that space. You can use it in your field, in your auric field, to assist you in you know, putting yourself in kind of like alchemizing anything in your field that feels uncomfortable or not, like it shouldn't be there. You can also use it in your body. So there's that's just like 3 examples, but you can use you can use the violet flame many ways. And I think, you know, he always encourages people to just practice, like start using it. And it's a tool and a gift that he, you know, shared with the world. So you can start practicing and you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference. So
okay, perfect. And so there's a couple of classes that she can take on your website.
Yeah, she, yes, I channel him a lot, actually. He just always seems to come through.
Okay.
I don't know, he's like, I think I've had a lot of lifetimes with him.
Okay, great.
Yes, but there's at least the You Are Energy class and Emotional Alchemy, and if one more pops in, I'll say it. I can't remember.
I know she'd definitely be interested in the Emotional Alchemy. So I'll let her know that, but she'll be listening anyway. So that's perfect.
Okay,
and
great.
I guess I wanted to ask you what you wanted to let people know about the Ascended Masters, because you work with so many of them. What do you feel like we should know?
Well, let me just ask. I don't want to misrepresent, you know. You know, the first thing is that we often as humans have had patterns of disempowerment. We have been in, you know, through various, I'm not trying to put anything down right now, but just through some systems and dogma and religious organizations and things like that, we have been taught to view ourselves as less than. You know, we view God outside of us, right? And this time on earth for many people is about coming back to that understanding that we are God, we are source. And the Ascended Masters, they don't actually want to be put on a pedestal.
Okay.
Angels don't either. They want us to ask to work with them. And you know, when we work with them, it's from a place of reverence, like we're thanking, I mean, just like you would thank anyone who helps you, right? But it's not from a place of being like unworthy or beholden or something like that. Also, I'm hearing that you can keep, you know, we view like the spiritual work as it doesn't have to be that complicated. Okay. Sometimes human have, I know, but sometimes we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. I have to do this modality and this healing and that healing and that. And while that's all fine and well, and that can all have its place, you know, some of these more simple principles of healing what comes up for you, healing your patterns, healing your past, healing your trauma, that is really what is going to assist, you know, learning to come back to your heart, operating from a place of forgiveness. These are the things that really help us shift. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think that anyone in the spiritual world tends to go, okay, well, I need 750 different modalities that I need to practice before I can figure out which one's actually for me. And I need the certificate, because I shouldn't dare even think that I could blend them and use my own energies to make something that's bespoke using who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I did that, you know, for a while. And, you know, it can be very useful to see people also. Like, I still see people sometimes. It can be, sometimes we need help, but also it's okay to, like, the more and more, the deeper I get along my spiritual path. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't want to be like, I'm so advanced or something, but the further I go, I guess I could say, the simpler it has become. Okay. You know, I don't need to complicate it as much anymore. And it's just these simple practices. Living becomes a little bit more simple. It's nothing's as complicated as I once made it. I mean, myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for you then, what have you been taught through the Ascended Masters about taking the complication out of things. Like, what can you give us an example of how your daily life has become
sure.
simplified?
Well, I mean, I'm still very busy. It's still very full. I'm a mom and I'm working and running a business and all of that. But for example, I meditate every day, morning and night. Well, not always night, but I try to do night, you know, and I really ask to be shown patterns of behavior that are no longer serving me, so that I can ask to work with them, release them. I have a daily practice I've been taught, just to learn to go in my heart when I need to make a decision, when I need to feel into something, when I'm just trying to operate in my life, right? I used to make all my decisions, and sometimes I still do, because, you know, we're in human bodies and right? But I used to make all of my decisions based on like what other people wanted me to do, or what I thought was best, or, you know, trying to follow this here. And I've learned in my practice that, you know, my decisions are heart-based. I listen a lot more. I listen to wisdom of my own being, and learning to do that, I think, is really essential.
So coming from the world that praises logic and rationale, how do you train yourself to come out of the head space and go into the heart space when you're making decisions?
It's important to, one, you got to be in your body, right? Because a lot of times, and I fall prey to this too, but a lot of times we're not even necessarily in our bodies. Sometimes we're, you know, in our mind, but we're not really in our body. So it's, one, doing some practices to help you get back in your body and be physically present in your body, because we can really only make heart-based decisions when we're present. So that's one thing. I would say the other thing is to just view, we're always going to have minds. It's important to have logic. It's important to have reason, certainly.
Yeah.
You know, if we didn't, that we'd be in trouble, right? But we use it, it's like we can view it as using our mind and our logic in deference to our heart. Like our heart becomes the leader and the guide. And also, when you start listening to your heart, one, sometimes other people don't get it. Like you'll make decisions that some people won't understand, and that's part of it, right? But one thing that begins to happen is you begin to notice the pattern is when I make decisions based on really listening, really getting quiet, really listening, I make decisions that are in line with a greater purpose. I make decisions that are, everything just seems to turn out better. You know what I mean? So, so it becomes this way of living that makes more sense after a while also. You know?
I mean, I'm trying to teach myself to do that. I'll admit it's something that is very ingrained in me, is to stop making decisions as a emotional reaction to something. I have a very fast, I'm usually very balanced and grounded, but when I get frustrated or anger, and I know this comes from a past life of a very angry incarnation, that I can go straight into the, you know, the whole totally write an irresponsible email or yell or do something. Like, it doesn't happen very often now, but I can still, I'm learning to catch myself or even not go there. But I think that people are so, like, we see road rage all the time and things like that. When people are triggered, they make really, you know, can be life-changing decisions that they wouldn't do if they had been able to just step back, come back into themselves, take some time to think about it, and make a decision that is going to be best for them. So
absolutely. I mean, I think you know, I think you're saying that tendency. I mean, I have my own tendencies, right, that are unhealthy, but, and it's not necessarily like they'll go away completely, but it's just that what you're talking about is that choice, that pause. Like, at least now, working and doing meditation is I honestly think if you can learn to do one thing, it's to learn to meditate, because you become aware that you aren't your thoughts, and just simply. And when you take that pause that you're describing before you send the email, I mean, you're still going to have the feeling, right? Not you, but myself too. But you can notice these patterns and choose. We have more access to choice, right?
And for yourself, is there a type of meditation that sort of clicked, that introduced you to meditation? So for me, for example, I probably spent, no joke, since high school, so nearly 30 years, trying to learn how to meditate, all the different modalities. And for me, it wasn't until I put, closest I ever got was when doing mantras. So any of the stuff that the Hay House puts out with the mantras, and then the final crack through for me was when I added sound to it. So
that can be really powerful. For sure.
So when I meditate and get the greatest experience for me, it's always sound-based meditation. So I don't think that people understand that there's lots of different ways you can meditate, and it's not just sitting on a mat. So just curious as to how you actually meditate. Do you?
Well, for me, I'd say, let me think when it started. I started going to yoga, like yoga classes, when I was about 25, so quite a while ago now. And it was through what you're saying, it was the mantra at the beginning. And then I wasn't consistent though. I just sort of like would do it when I was there, and then, and then I was going through like a really, really, really intense time in my life right after the birth of my daughter. I was a single parent right away. So super intense, and I had this newborn baby, and I was just like, I've got to do something to feel better. I don't know what to do, And so it was just purely like necessity at that point. And I remember I would go and like, this sounds probably nuts to people, but I would like go and sit in the closet, because it was actually living with family members again because of finances and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was like the quiet place. And I just would like set my phone on a timer, and I was like, I'm going to learn how to do this. And, somehow I sort of broke through some barrier there, maybe because I was in so much emotional pain. I just, and then that's kind of how it really, really started. And I was also, teaching school at the time. I was an English teacher for a long time, and I would do this thing where, kids can always find you. So I would lock my classroom and close the blinds and just sit there like quiet and I would put 5 minutes. And that really, I did that for about a year, or school year. And that it changed my life. Like, it was just like, even those 5 minutes changed my life. So what I would also say to people, find what works for you, but it doesn't have to be this, like, I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes and it has to be perfect. And my whole life you're talking to a person who was a single parent working. I just sit down in my classroom. I'm like, okay, here I am, spirit, and something shifted. So
I think most parents can identify with the hiding from their kids to have a quiet moment.
I was hiding from totally, and I was hiding from like 100 kids at that point.
And I think also people don't think of like the simple act of having a shower as a meditation, because I always noticed that I could, say, like as a teenager, have a raving big blow up of a fight with my mum, bless her, and go and have a shower and come back and I'm like, I'm here. Yeah. And she'd be like cranky for days. And I'm like, can you just not go and have a shower and like feel better? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, because I can go and have a shower. And some people ruminate more in the shower and they get cranky and cranky or whatever. But when I go in there, I always find the water so cleansing that it's
absolutely.
Like I come out really different.
Same. I'm this exact same way. Every time, I see people Monday through Thursday about approximately, and every time I take a shower after, that's just my thing. It just helps me kind of wash it away.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I just my youngest son, he's 13, and he can shower for the world. I mean, he goes in there and he's there for half an hour, and I'm like, "Ugh." But it changes his mindset as well. You're like, okay, just leave him. He's getting that out of his system, and he comes
Yeah.
out and he's
Well,
fine. So
and another thing you're kind of even just talking about is alchemy, right? There are these things we can do to shift what is happening, right? One, it's just what we're accepting what's happening. Like we accept it, right? We forgive it, but then there are tools that we have at our disposal that are so simple that can begin to shift it, such as taking a shower, salt bath, grounding, going outside, putting your feet on the earth, simple things, reconnecting.
yeah, beautiful. Okay, well, I wanted to ask you, is there anything else that you think people should know about Ascended Masters, how to really start to learn how to work with them? I mean, like, for example, there's books on Ascended Masters. This is the classic one from Doreen, that they can have a look at. They can listen to the podcast that you have that with the other ladies.
We have a podcast. It's kind of been on hold because there's some personal things going on in people's lives, but it hopefully will be up and running next year. Until then. And I would also say the Ascending Initiates website, which I'm a part of a group of people all over the world, actually, who are healers who have done work with the Ascended Masters in some way. So that I would take a look at that. There is a website called Alpha Imaging also that has some really, really good information about the Ascended Masters. So that it's a good place to take a look, and really good and up-to-date information. So those are the places that I would say to start with.
And can you access, just like you can access spirit guides in meditation and also in regression of any form, can you be shown and interact with an Ascended Master to find out who your Ascended Master primary one is, through going through either a really deep meditation or I guess it would be more like the lives between lives regression. Is that also? I've never tried that. That's all. I was just curious.
Yeah, I think you absolutely could, for sure. Yeah. What I notice, I think people have a lot more ability than they give themselves credit for sometimes, right? And so if you, again, a lot of this comes back to beliefs, but if you believe that you can go and do that, I believe that you absolutely can do that and find out that information, and, even if it feels like something that the person that's listening to this is not necessarily able to do, I would just poke around and get to know the masters. And what you will find is you will be drawn, for example, I'm really drawn to work with the goddess energy and divine feminine masters, as well as Saint Germain, but like Isis and some of those, Kuan Yin and White Tara. I would just say, see who you're drawn to, because there's a reason that you're being drawn in a certain direction. Just kind of notice oh, that is drawing me in, that being. There's probably a reason, you know what I'm saying? It's like an invitation of sorts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will go and try and do that myself. I mean, I know that in meditations and in past life regressions and flashes, I will get Archangel Michael is my guide, but I do see a lot of Yeshua in my mind, but I don't feel, for example, that he's my primary assigned ascended master for this lifetime. I've also accessed the Buddha in at a really key critical life moment, what I would call my spiritual awakening, or complete and utter, oh my god, the world's just crashed moments. But yeah, again, I haven't really explored a whole lot, so hence I think that's why I was like, I want to talk to Courtney about Ascended Masters, because I think it's like it's ready to open up and see what we get.
Yeah. Well, and yes, I think you could definitely find that for yourself. So just who you're drawn to work with, also. And also, if Yeshua was showing up, there's a reason. So
yeah, but I was always and I was always like, well, that's just because my birthday's on Christmas Eve. Do you know what I mean? You know how you can play something down. You're like, my mind is just making that up because because of it's born on Christmas Eve, and it's like, yeah, I'm just making that up. But the more you delve into the work, the more you realize that you don't make things up. But sometimes you just miss things.
Well, here's the thing, I notice with information that comes in, right? It always kind of feels like imagination. Even now, even to me, there's always a sense, because it doesn't come in the same way through our normal channels, right? That it feels like we're making it up, right? So that's one of the biggest things that kind of has to, not for you necessarily, but just for as you're developing your intuition, it kind of has to put that aside, even that idea that you're making something up. If it's there, there's a reason, if he's there, there's a reason. So
yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right, you've given us lots and lots to think about, so thank you. And I highly recommend that people go and find you on your website and your YouTube channel and on the podcast as well. I will link to all of those sources in the show notes, and people can book on your website sessions with you, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have a lot. I'm just sort of taking a minute because I've worked so much this year. I got really busy, but it's been great. But, I'm taking a little bit of time at the holidays, but I have a lot of things coming next year. I'm going to do a 6-week intuition development class to help people develop their own intuition and open up their psychic abilities. So that should be coming in early February, actually. And that will all be on my website. I don't know what time it'll be in Australia, but
we're used to getting up at crazy hours to participate in things, so that's okay.
Someday I'll get there.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, if you can thank Erik for popping in for us, and to the Ascended Masters for being present in this session today. And we would really like to thank you for your time, Courtney, and wish you and all your loved ones the very best for the festive season.
Thank you. It was so lovely meeting you, and this was fun. I had a great time. So
perfect. Thank you
so much. Yeah.